Hello and welcome to episode 89 of On the Bench, the podcast for scale modelers, by scale modelers, all about scale models. And this week's show is being brought to you through the generous support of Paul Alexander Crystal and Eric Sellermayer. Thank you very much, gents, for your support of the show. If you too would like to be just like these two fine gentlemen, you can do so by going to www.patreon.com/onthebench and pledge any amount from $1 upwards. Your support of the show helps us with our production and hosting costs and are greatly appreciated. Don't forget to check out our two sister podcasts. You have the Scale Model podcast from Stuart and Anthony in Canada, and also Scale Model Mojo from Kentucky with David and Michael. Both a couple of great shows, so don't forget to add them to your podcast downloads. They are essential listening if you love everything to do with scale models. The Scale Modeler Supply. Certified Australian made, the Scale Modeler Supply has created a comprehensive range of premium acrylic lacquer paints that have been specifically developed to cater for the scale modeler. Designed to use straight from the bottle, SMS paints have taken all the guesswork out of airbrushing. Simply shake the durable glass bottle and pour and spray for a fast drying and extremely durable result. The ever-growing range of SMS paints will suit all types of model builders, be it military, aircraft, train, car, science fiction or Gunpla. SMS premium acrylic lacquer paints will have the colour to suit you. The Modeler Supply is also your one-stop shop for all weathering, brushes, masking, tools and other accessory needs. SMS paints and tools and accessories are available either directly from their website, www.scalemodeler.com.au, or through stockists across Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and the USA. And as a special bonus exclusive to our On The Bench listeners, you will get 10% off your next order by using the promo code OTB2020 when ordering direct from Scale Modeler. So go now to www.scalemodeler.com.au and place your order. We know you won't be disappointed. And hello and welcome to the show, Ian.
G'day, Dave. G'day, listeners.
And Julian.
Hello, good morning.
It's a very muted good morning.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's another Saturday morning, and I was up late last night, so
Another Saturday morning in lockdown, dare I say.
Yeah.
It's still lockdown.
God, this is what, week 2 for us now? We've still got 4 weeks to go.
Yes.
That we know of.
Yes, exactly right, that we know of. Who knows with this darn thing. Anyway, let's not talk about that muck. Let's talk about good stuff like modelling. Guys, what have you been up to? Let's start with you. Ian, you've been doing a power of work on your P51 from Edward.
Yeah, it's coming along really well at the moment. No dramas at all. It's got very tight tolerances, I found out. You've got to be really careful where you're applying paint. Now, I've heard online a lot of people complaining that there's no locating pins on the nose.
Yeah.
There actually are, but they're that small, you can barely see them or feel them.
Oh, seriously?
Very, very shallow locating pins. So you've got to be careful when you're cleaning it up that you don't remove them.
Certainly the work that we've seen you posting on Facebook, it looks like it is an amazing kit.
Oh, it is. It's spectacular. It's so well designed and engineered. It fits really nice so far. I haven't had any dramas. I've heard of some people having the odd drama here and there, but so far, no, it's come along well. I'm hoping this weekend to start putting a bit of cleaning up the edges and seeing how far I can get it before I get it to undercoat.
So you've closed up the fuselage already?
Yeah, fuselage is closed up, wings are on, undercarriage wheel wells are done.
Very good.
Yeah, quite well.
Julian, what have you been up to?
Not too much. I've just been working on my. I've been doing some sort of like light construction type work on that MLRS I bought a while ago. That's the American rocket launcher on a tank base type vehicle.
Oh, I'm quite keen to see some pictures of that. So you should post them to the Facebook page.
Yeah, I should, but I mean, there's not much to see yet. There's a lot of parts. I got to say, there's a lot of parts.
It was a high part count, wasn't it?
So, I've mentioned before how it's got a particularly high amount of detail in the sort of cab interior than you would normally expect from Trumpeter Hobby Boss. They're usually pretty sparse. I've built a few other sort of modern subjects in them that have like an interior, and it's just been sort of basic type stuff because you can't see too much. But they've made it so that you can have the doors open, all the hatches open, the armored louvers that go over the windows, you can have them up or down. There's all kinds of detail in there. I've been just trying to figure out how much I can glue in before things are at risk of breaking off, and things I should paint separately, like the seats. But most of the construction is actually in the rocket launcher itself. So even though it looks like a big cube with like actually what it looks like a big packet of cigarettes.
Right.
Because it's like a box with, cylinders sticking out the end.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, when under the cover of the box, there's like all this structure and like loading type stuff inside there that you don't really see, but it's in there. So I've got to build all that, and it's taking a long time. I had to glue the cylinders together themselves, and because they partially stick out the front sometimes, I wanted to make sure I got my seam lines all sorted on the side. Otherwise, you'll see them.
Right.
So I've been employing some aircraft building construction techniques to eliminate my seam lines, which is something I usually don't pay too much attention to on my armor kits.
So you can't hide with this armor kit then?
I guess not. I guess not.
Well, as I said, send us some pictures. I'm really keen to see how it's coming along. Are you going to do the doors open or closed, just out of interest?
Yeah, I'll do them open.
Yeah.
Or at least able to open, like at least one of them.
Very cool.
There is a hatch on top of the cab as well, so I could also enable that to be open.
Now, which country was this from? This particular kit? Not the kit.
This will be in like finished markings, so it's got
Right.
like that splinter camo that they use.
Oh, that'll be very cool.
It's very sort of zigzaggy looking splinter camo.
Yeah.
Like more so than the sort of like the general thing that most people think of when they think splinter camo, like the German stuff.
Yep.
The early German stuff.
Oh, that'd be really cool.
Yeah. It's got the nice little tiny, really small roundel that they use. That's like light blue and white.
Yes.
Yeah. It's just really nicely offsets the camo, I think.
Definitely.
So I've been tinkering around on that thing. That's about it. Lots of gluing things together.
Very cool.
Well, I'm still sort of battling along with my torpedo boat destroyer. So I've started putting the superstructure on and doing some scratch building on that. And I reckon today I'm just about ready to mount the masts and start doing some rigging. So it's getting closer and closer to completion, and I'm really keen to sort of get it finished off because I want to start on a new kit that some of those rocket things that I got from Horizon Models.
Yeah, hook into those, Dave.
Yeah, I'm really keen. And also, I've got a I've been buying some stuff this week. So I've bought a 1/72 scale V2 because obviously that's where the real rocketing sort of started with Werner von Braun and his V2 program. And so I'd just sort of like to do that as a starting point and then go and do the Atlas and Mercury rockets.
Start with the V1.
Sorry?
Start with the V1.
Yeah, but the V1 wasn't really part of the sort of rocketing side of things, so...
Rocket engine.
No, it was just a pulse engine, really. It wasn't really a rocket engine, so...
Basic. It's a basics for a rocket.
Yeah. No, I just count the V...
If you wanted to, right? It's not in this. It's not this. I don't think you should include it. But if you were going to go the rocket, if you were sticking to the rocket side of things, you could include the 163 ME 163. Is it?
Yeah,
that
was a rocket powered. Yeah, that was a rocket powered glider. You're right, but it wasn't really. Okay, so here's going to be my rule.
It doesn't leave the atmosphere.
Correct.
Is what you mean.
Yes. It wasn't ballistic. So everything else I'm building is going to be ballistic.
V2s didn't leave the atmosphere, did they?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did.
Well, they had a ballistic...
The ones that actually made it, yeah.
They had a ballistic missile trajectory, unlike an aircraft. It didn't have wings, put it that way. How's that? It hasn't got wings.
A good one, Dave. You finally managed to narrow it down.
It took a while to get there. I also bought the Dragon kit, Apollo 11 lunar entry kit, which is the lunar module along with the LEM that comes together as a kit. And I opened the box and had a look, and I've got to say I'm really impressed with the detail that's on it. And I'm quite keen to sort of make a start with that. And I had you know how on the LEM it's got like all that sort of, silver and gold crinkling?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The model itself had already got that sort of crinkling sort of molded into it. And I've been doing some research onto the best way to paint that gold and paint it silver, because it was silver and gold in different areas. And I had a sudden brainwave the other day. Why not actually use real gold leaf on it? So I've gone ahead and ordered gold leaf and silver leaf to do on those parts.
Wow. Go the whole hog.
Well, why not? I mean, I reckon you get a truer colour.
Oh, yeah, well, you're actually going to be using gold, yeah.
Yeah, well, using real gold and using real silver.
Well, it's no different to spraying sort of like alclad type stuff, isn't it? In a way, it just means that rather than it coming out of it, just the application method is different, and it's, I mean, you know what I mean? Like you're spraying metal to simulate metal. In this case, you're just sort of pushing it on, right?
Yeah, I'm using real metal rather than out of a bottle.
Yeah.
Well, that's the hope, is it will look really sort of, highly realistic, and that's what I'm sort of aiming for. So we'll have to wait and see. So I'm waiting for them to come. Of course, I'll have to practice on applying gold leaf because it looks fairly simple. You just use a very light brush and sort of just pick it up with a brush and apply it and sort of dab it down. And then you need a very light sponge just to really push it down and burr it onto the actual plastic. So we'll have to see how that goes. Something different and a different sort of method and trial. And I've had a look around on the internet. I think there's only been 2 builds, and each one of those builds that they've done, they've elected to go with paint. I don't think anybody's actually ever used gold leaf, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll wait and see how that turns out. I've got to finish the destroyer first and one of the other rockets first before I get into that, but that's what the build program looks like at Dave's house over the next couple of months.
Dave's space program.
Program.
Hopefully the finish comes out as good as you hope it will, I mean, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's unknown territory, but it's unknown territory for us.
I can't think of anybody, and I haven't seen anybody who's actually used gold leaf on models before. And I'll happy to be stand corrected, but I've never seen it used before.
Yeah, well, I mean, like...
it doesn't ring a bell with me either.
It's kind of one of those things where it sort of breaks, like, conventional thinking. most people go, oh, what kind of gold paint can I use for that? And they don't think any further than that.
Well, here's my thing. I couldn't find any gold paint that I was satisfied with that would give me the result that I'm looking for. It looks a bit, unrealistic. So we'll see.
Go on ship propellers, Dave.
Sorry?
Wonder how it would go on ship propellers.
Yeah, but they're bronze, so...
Yeah. You can always darken it.
Yeah. Actually,
also, you're still limited to the smoothness of your subject, right?
Correct, yes. Any lumps and bumps and scratches would just stand right out, won't it?
Yeah. They're not typically things you see on metal.
Mm.
So, I mean, that's...
I'll just have to see how it goes. Yeah. I mean, you do pose an interesting question there, Ian, about actually using it on the props on the ships. So, because you can get a bronze leaf as well.
There you go.
So,
if it works well, there you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, geez, I think I might have discovered a new part of modelling.
Could very well be, mate.
Yeah.
You might have. Well, it depends on the result, right?
Well, exactly right. It could either go beautifully.
You may end up with a whole bunch of our listeners like writing in saying, "We knew there was going to go in that direction. And that's why we never went there."
Well, certainly, I'd be interested if anybody's actually tried using gold leaf or silver leaf or bronze leaf on their models in the past. Certainly, write in and let me know. And you can write to me at onthebench64@gmail.com.
Yeah.
All right, gents. So let's get into, how about we have a look at what's new in the modelling world? How's that sound for a starter?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, let's kick off the first one. And first one, I'll just do a quick shout out to our friends over in Canada, the Scale Model Podcast. They're running a Super Model Contest 2020. And
yeah, for sure.
This is a chance to show off your building skills and stand a chance to win a Moscato Hobby 1/48 scale baby space crab kit. I've got no idea what that is.
Me neither.
Anywho, all you have to do is go to www.scalemodelpodcast.com/SMP Contest 2020. All in one word, obviously, and have a look at what those guys have got planned. So it sounds interesting. Be good to see how it comes out.
Yep.
Next, for some news, we've got some news from Trumpeter, gentlemen. And Trumpeter announced 4 new kits for August. The first one is a 1/35th scale 3M54 Club K in a 40-foot container variant. Basically, this is a container missile system which is dedicated to fire over water and at ground targets with winged missiles. The winged missiles being the 3M-54TE and the 3M-54TE1. The missile's got a hypersonic third stage and hits the target at triple the speed of sound. The container system...
It just looks like something a supervillain had done.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
There's this inconspicuous shipping container, and all of a sudden pops open, and there's all these missiles.
Yeah, something a Blofeld would be proud of.
Yes.
And you know what? For those of you who want a container in 1/35th scale, a 40-foot container, you could actually rip the missile system out and just use a container, couldn't you, for various things? I love it.
I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking, yeah, this is a pretty cool model. It's unusual. It's just out there.
It kind of like wants to make you put like the villain next to it in a
exactly
suit.
That's exactly what I see when I look at this. So this may be on the market for me.
Or I could do a backdrop for like a fist fight for James Bond,
Yeah.
The model length is 349 millimeters, about 70 millimeters wide. There's some copper tubes that are included as well, and the kit consists of over 380 parts. So, tell you what, Ian, if you buy one, order 2, and I'll buy one off you.
All right.
As part of your order.
Don't worry.
Next up from Trumpeter, we have HMAS Kent, which is a Type 23 frigate, and this is in 1/700 scale. They've got one already in 1/350 scale, so it's interesting they've finally scaled it down to 1/700. Looking at the sprue kit parts, or the sprue parts, I should say, it's single hull. So if you want to do an inline one, you're going to have to get a saw and attack the hull, unfortunately. So this model length is 190 millimeters, beam of 23 millimeters. Total parts count is 200, and of course you get some photo etch with it. Over to you, Julian.
You actually said HMAS.
Oh, did HMS. HMS, yes. Oh, good pickup. The next one, which I'm sure that quite a lot of our aircraft builders will be interested in, is a DC-3 in 1/48 scale. Now,
I think this kit's been around for a little while.
The new decal option for the trumpeter kit. They've already got a DC-3 out in 48 scale.
Okay. So this is, you're right. This is the reboxing of the original DC-3 slash C-47 with China National Aviation Company markings. Oh, there you go. This was actually used during the war. It helped transport equipment and stuff over the hump during World War II, and obviously served after the war as well. Now, it's interesting. They've got here the exterior. It's got optional plastic or die-cast landing gear struts.
Oh, there you go.
It'd be a decently big bird.
Oh, at 1/48 scale, yeah, it'd be huge. The engines look to be quite well detailed. So, yeah, it's looking like a really nice kit, actually.
Yeah, except it comes in rubber tyres.
Oh, well, you can't have everything in.
Market
Parts count is 370, and there's photofilm instrument panel. Photofilm instrument panel. I guess they mean decals, don't they? Anyway, have a look at that. Next in 1/48 scale, there is a CH-34 US Army Rescue helicopter, which was a Sikorsky. It's a piston engine one that operated just before the Hueys came in, actually. And, geez, they produced over 2,100 of them between 53 and 1970. Still producing up to 1970. That's interesting. Quite a long production run. The roles include utility, transport, anti-submarine warfare, search and rescue, as well as VIP transport. In its standard configuration, apparently this helicopter could carry 12 to 16 troops, or 8 stretcher cases if utilised in the medevac role.
So I thought I'd seen this box art before, and I have.
Oh.
This is actually an original trumpeter kit.
Isn't it?
It's from Gallery Models. So, yeah, I mean, if you're expecting trumpeter quality, you may get better or may get worse.
Now, Gallery Models, isn't it an offshoot of Trumpeter anyway?
I don't know.
Because they do a couple of ships from memory, Gallery Models. I can't think of which ones they were now, but interesting. Okay.
Well, it's also been boxed by a company called Monochrome.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe do some
I've never heard
research if it's a kit that you want to build.
Next up, there's an interesting innovative. Is that a word?
What?
Innovative.
Innovative. Thank you. Innovative new line of models from the company called Suyata, which has 35th scale modelling subjects in abstract form. Now you have some. I'm struggling to try and explain what these look like. I mean, they're German soldiers in abstract form. They're US soldiers, World War II in abstract form. It's almost like, remember that movie where you had toy soldiers or whatever it was? Who did that movie? Yeah, that. And it's sort of very similar vein to that, except these are posable.
You know what they look like to me? They look like they're made out of origami. Like, because they're sort of like all the limbs are sort of made out of lots of flat sides.
Mm.
So they kind of look like they're folded paper, you know?
It's an interesting sort of subject, an interesting sort of move, isn't it? And I'd be very keen to see what other people think about this, because it's fresh, it's different. Whether people will like it, the traditionalist model builders will like it, because it's not sort of, your traditional sort of shapes.
Very Art Deco.
Yeah, you're right, Ian. It is very Art Deco. Yeah. Oh, well, we'll see how that goes. Mung have announced that the new 135th scale Israel main battle tank Merkava, the Mark 4/4 LIC, which has the mine roller system, is due for release very shortly. If you like building your modern arm, I was surprised to learn that the Maverk has been around for nearly 50 years now. That's a long time for a tank system, and it just goes to show how well that the design is that it sort of lasted that long. But I'm pretty sure it's coming for its 50th sort of anniversary. So,
well, it hasn't actually been in combat, has it? There have been no actual conflicts since it's been in service.
I don't know. It's had tank.
Well, I mean, when I say conflicts, I mean like against other tanks.
Yeah, I don't know. Good question, Julian.
Although I'm not sure which Merkava actually comes before the other, to be honest.
Yeah, I've always thought it was a cool tank. Looks really.
Anyway,
cool.
This is the one with the spaceship looking turret. Looks like a UFO.
Yeah, it reminds me of the actual Sherman turret. Not the Sherman, I beg your pardon, the Sheridan turret that the Americans used.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, it's got that sort of shape to it. But the interesting part about the Merkava is that it also had capacity to take some troops inside it as well. But this one, this particular kit, it's got some anti-mine rollers or mine rollers on the front.
Yeah, they're very unique looking, aren't they?
They are. It's interesting sort of looking design. And
you know what it looks like? The mine rollers actually look like multiple rivet tools side by side.
Yes, they do. They do. This kit includes movable suspension system and workable assembly tracks, so individual link tracks. And as I said, the suspension system is fully movable, so it should make for some good dioramas or just a straight up sort of standalone sort of model. Very cool. Now, Hong Kong Models, they've announced that they are doing their standalone nose section of the Lancaster. Apparently it's going to be, it is in 1/32 scale, and it's going to have 171 plastic parts in it. I think this is a fantastic idea for those who don't necessarily want to splash out a huge amount of money, or indeed don't have the room to build the full Lancaster in 1/32 scale, and also allows you to really go and detail the interior, because you'll be able to see it from the rear end as well as through the perspex as well. And of course, it opens up the opportunity to do a whole heap of artwork on the side of it as well.
And there'll be probably a good chance that maybe one half of the fuselage is casting clear anyway.
Yes, I think it might be actually. I could almost be tempted, but I won't be. But I could almost be tempted to have a crack at this.
Yep. It's interesting.
It is interesting. That's all that I have for what's new. What about you guys? You got anything?
No, nothing from my end, mate.
Well, maybe not so much new, but I'd just sort of like to call attention to a small-time manufacturer. Anyz Models, I think it's pronounced ANYZ.
Yeah.
Or Z, depending on how you want to go about that. Basically he does sort of like little sort of mostly jet detail up type stuff in resin. And interestingly, like he does decals as well, but a lot of the sort of stuff that he showcases on his Facebook page involve like sort of all the little knobs and switches that you see in cockpits, and he does them individually.
Oh, wow.
So
seriously?
the idea is that, yeah, so what you do is you would take sort of like the instrument panels and stuff along the sides and stuff inside a jet, and you would drill out all of those. You just remove them and then drill out every position, and you got like all these little knobs and switches and things that are on long shanks that just plug into the holes.
Mm.
So you get more sort of very 3D like switches and stuff that stick out of the out of your instrument panels and side panels and things. And he also has like all the decals to go around them so that you get all the proper markings next to each individual switch.
All right, yep.
Cool.
So if you really want to get into the super detailing of interiors, he's probably a great option.
Yeah, I'll check that out.
Well, before we close off on what's new, of course, the Falcon has written into us with what he's found around coming out for July. And let's have a look at what he's got to say. First of all, Armour Hobby will be adding another Hawker Hurricane kit to their range, which is going to be Hurricane Mark II. This one's a bit different, though. It's in 1/48 scale. Very high confidence that this will be the 1/48 scale Hurricane to which all the others are compared. That's interesting.
That does sound interesting.
It does.
I'd potentially build that.
Oh, okay. Next, Special Hobby have confirmed they're working on the Dornier 24 in 1/48 scale injection molded and could perhaps do a Dutch one.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they're great. And there was that the flying shoe.
Or wasn't it the flying boat one?
Yeah, I know the flying boats, but I think one of them was called the flying shoe.
You have to have a quick look. Didn't Australia operate one of them?
I think we did.
We had
had
three.
both captured ones.
We used the ones from the Dutch East Indies, I believe, after the Dutch East Indies collapsed after the Japanese invaded.
If this is the one that's called the flying shoe, isn't that a bit of a bit of a Dutch thing with the shoes and stuff?
Yes. Yeah,
It could well be.
Yeah, no, that in 48 scale.
That'd be huge.
That'd be a big kit.
48 scale, yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and I'm 99% sure that the RAAF did operate a couple of these after they flew out of the Dutch East Indies. So there you go. Dora Wings in 1/48 scale doing a Miles Master Mark 1, which is getting very close to release. And Dora have shown some test sprues and box art for that. Mini Art have announced a further addition to their 135th aircraft range, a late production of the Focke-Wulf FW C.30A. Hensch, just try. Holy Shrek.
Do it.
I've got no idea what that aircraft looks like. I've never seen one.
Did you say Holy Shrek?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just imagining that green monster, the troll from the Disney movie or whatever it is, Pixar movie.
You know what this is? This is the helicopter one. It was auto gyro helicopter.
Oh, right.
So it's got the propeller motor on the front and just the free swinging blades on top. It's very similar to the one, Julian, you're going to be doing for the competition between us for the Shuru Cup. Not the Shuru,
right.
the Musaroo Cup.
Yep.
KP Models have 3 boxings of a 1/72 scale Sopwith triplane kit in the works. One's going to be the Royal Navy Air Service Black Flight. One's going to be Triple Aces and another one in Soviet service. Gee, in 72nd scale, it's going to be tiny. Now, the Falcon says, a new company to me, Mako, M-A-C-O, has announced a kit of the Ziln Z37A sea milk in 48 scale. I've got no idea what that is. I'm going to have to try. I'm going to have to Google that and see what it is.
What is it? Zil
Z37A. I've got no idea.
I have a guessing it's going to be a truck type thing.
No, it's just an aircraft. It looks like a...
it's just a little either a training or a crop duster.
It looks like a crop duster, doesn't it? Oh, geez. Micro O'Meara also showing sprues and box art for their 1/72 kit of the Horton IX-V1 German experimental glider. So moving on to Armour, Mini Art are apparently working on another 1/35 scale T-34. The next one is going to be an Egyptian T-34/85 with lots of marking options as usual, and a couple of them might be for the PLO tanks as well. Academy have shown box art and sprues for the new Panzer III OSFJ in 1/35 scale. Appears to be new tooling, but Falcon's saying don't hold into that. The kit's going to be marked North Africa, and I think we can safely assume there'll be decal options for at least a couple of Africa Corps vehicles. And lastly, Gecko models are staying with their British theme, but have moved forward in time. They have announced a 1/35 scale kit of the modernish ATMP all-terrain mobility platform. The kit comes with a driver figure apparently as well. And that's it from the Falcon.
More interesting news.
Absolutely. Guys, I've got nothing else, so how about we have a quick break and then we'll come back and have a look at listener mail, and the mail bag is absolutely groaning with stuff that has come through.
Good to hear.
All right, guys, we'll be back in a minute.
Sure.
Fine Scale Modeler is the world's most recognised and essential magazine for modelers, and is available in all good newsagents and newsstands or wherever you purchase your magazines. Alternatively, go to their website www.finescale.com and subscribe to either a print edition or their digital edition. Go now. Go to www.finescale.com. Okay, and we're back, and we've got a whole heap of listener mail to get through, so how about we just kick it off? So the first one comes...
By the way,
yeah.
Can I just say,
yes,
I'm starting to dread the user mail.
Why?
Why? Because a lot of it's far too focused on me. It makes me uncomfortable. It's like, oh, what can I expect next?
Oh, Julian, you're just loved. That's what it is.
It's a worry.
Okay, the first one comes from Ken Foynt, and Ken writes, hello down under from somewhere in America that is not Virginia. Long-time listener, first-time caller, so to speak. And since I have an internet connection and an opinion, I'm obligated to express it. So getting to it, my first subject for a new startup model company would be a 1/48 scale F4U for Corsair. The Hasegawa kit is getting long in the tooth, and Hobby Boss released theirs with some shape issues that, while fixable, shouldn't have happened with a new release kit. Should that prove to be a moneymaker that keeps the boat afloat, I would follow up with a 1/48 scale OSTU Kingfisher. Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
Oh, yeah, because the only one I could think of was the old monogram kit, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Which is very dated now. I mean, that's 1950s, I think, or 60s when that came out.
Absolutely. Ken goes on to say, should those kits keep the doors open, I would take a long look at British and Japanese twin-engine bombers in 1/48 scale. The only ones that we haven't had that I'm aware of, the Japanese, the only ones we've had that I'm aware of are the G4M Betty and the Vickers Wellington. That's enough out of me. Take care, gents, and thanks for the work you're doing with all the informative and entertaining podcasts. And for God's sake, Julian, lighten up, will ya? That's from Ken.
See, when people tell me to lighten up, I just want to spite them. It just makes me more negative and pessimistic.
Chris Wolford writes in, and he says, I finally caught up with the backlog of the last few episodes that I've missed over the past few weeks. Fantastic listening and keep up the great work. I really enjoyed the 2 episodes you had with the Daves regarding Wingnut Wings. I'm like many others in the hobby that love Wingnut Wings kits, and to hear of their end was heartbreaking. I feel there is more reasons, issues behind the scenes that have yet to come to light that led to its demise. I hope that you will consider getting Dave Johnson back on one day to talk more about Wingnut Wings and some of his experience working there, and maybe dig more into some of the questions over its demise. I know that I have a few questions myself. Also, do you know if Dave has his method of packages built kits posted anywhere? Keep up the great work and stay safe, from Chris in Leeds. I think what Chris is talking about there is that Dave Johnson mentioned that he ships Wingnut Wings kits around the world, and he only uses old shopping bags, sort of scrunched up, and mails them out that way. And apparently that works quite well.
That's interesting.
He spoke about it on when we had him on, if you recall, and he found that it's the best way to sort of send kits around the world. Just use lots of sort of plastic all scrunched up, and that he tends not to have any sort of issues with kits getting damaged or anything. So
I wonder where he gets the plastic bags from these days.
Yeah, hard to find now, unless you pay for them at the supermarket.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Dave Johnson, he writes in, hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. Dave Johnson from across the ditch. Thank you once again for having me on the other week. I really enjoyed it. Just listen to the latest episode regarding benches and workspace areas. I am lucky enough to have my own space for my hobby, and while those MDF storage units are great looking and can add up pretty quickly when you have multiple units, I have found clear acrylic nail polish makeup racks that you can get from Kmart and other stores like them that are fantastic for storage options, and they're pretty cheap as well. I don't think I've paid more than about 13 Kiwi dollars for them at a time. I have a fantastic electric standing sitting office desk that is approximately 1500 millimeters by 1700 millimeters that my lovely wife got for me, as I've had 2 back operations on my lower back and can suffer fatigue in that area. I find that I tend to sit more often than standing, and to stop me sitting in a hunch position, I have a comfortable office chair that has a footrest on it, so that when I'm seated, I am almost seated in a squat position. I also have another footrest under the bench for when I do stretch out, and can happily sit in my man cave for hours on end. Through the ongoing issue that I have is on my bench, I seem to run out of working space. Geez, don't we all?
Don't we all?
I'm progressing through a build, and I find that my work area starts to shrink in size. It is smaller than an A4 size piece of paper due to me having parts, tools, and other items spread right across the working space, and that I should have put away after I've used. It gets to the point where I need to stop what I'm doing and clean up, and the nasty cycle starts again. Keep up the great work, from Dave in Wellington, New Zealand.
I suffer exactly the same problems he does.
I do as well. My workspace gets so cramped. It really does. And I find just like that, I've got to stop and sort of clean up sort of midway through my work just to give myself more space.
Yeah,
Sorry, can I go first?
Yeah, go for it, John.
If my work area was just a table that was literally only the size of an A4 piece of paper that stood by itself in the center of the room, so that I had nowhere to actually store anything, I would still store stuff on that small amount of area and end up having to clean it. Yes. I would work my way down to like a 5 by 5 centimeter square on the corner, and then I'd have to clean the rest of it.
More and more, I'm thinking about to get a stand-up desk, because I reckon that'd be the way to go. But to do that, I have to have
There is another option, Dave.
What's that?
Attach all your tools to elastics.
Attach my tools to elastics?
Yeah. So when you're finished, they just spring out of the way.
That's a crazy, kooky idea.
It's a good way to make parts go flying, isn't it?
It is, yes. But more and more I'm thinking about getting a stand-up desk because, but to do that, I'm going to have to completely reconfigure my build room.
Oh, you would.
Yeah, it's a thought process that is slowly percolating through my little mind. So I'm going to have to sort of get some measurements, and I'm almost at the point where I'm considering doing a complete redesign of my build area, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Andy Roche writes in, "G'day, my friends. Just caught up the last episode and listened to you read my last email about renewal kit that I purchased and heard Ian say that they have been around for donkey's years. I'm guessing the only way he would know about donkey's years if he's been around just as long."
Yeah, I've been around for a while.
Anyway, I look more at this kit and it says that renewal is a trademark of Revell, and the kit is from 2016 and it says the parts were made in Poland. Just thought I'd share the info with you and take a cheap shot at Ian right away. So take care, guys. There you go, Julian. You're not the only one who copped some flack.
I'll water off a duck's back, though.
Oh, God. So James from California, USA, writes in, "Hello, Dave, Ian and Julian. During your last show, you were discussing whether or not that we modelers rev up our engines and sound effects when we finished a beloved model. Yes, it's only natural. I don't believe Julian one bit. Why can't a plane land without flaps? His excuse for not making the wheels down flight with the engine sounds. In my world, the plane is having a malfunction of the flaps during landing, or maybe it's putting it around in the tarmac. At 53 years old, it's one of the most enjoyable things to partake upon finishing a plane. It's just not planes. In recent months, I took my vintage Revell PT-109 for a spin and made Martian sound with my Mobius Warrior and howled at the moon with my Polar Lights Wolfman. Why not, my friends? It's a lot of hard work just to remain silent when finished. Also, the name of my wife came up with a group of modelers and it's called a Nerds. But she says that out of love. As always, love the show. Keep it up. And I proudly support the podcast on Patreon. Thanks. That's from James. And thank you very much, James. And we salute your continuing support on Patreon. There you go, Julian.
My stance remains unchanged.
Okay, Tim Young writes in, "Hello again, Dave, Ian, and the dour high for Julian. Loved the animated discussion of what you would do with a windfall and opening your own model company. It got me thinking about a practical and relatively safe way to do this. First of all, gauge the market. Be active on modelling forums and Facebook, but also speak to hobby shop owners. They are probably best placed to tell you what is really popular. 2, make a name for yourself. Produce 2 or 3 kits to establish yourself on the market and then promote them heavily in magazines, forums and podcasts. 3, the main plan. Use Kickstarter to fund the more niche and expensive kits. I'm also big into hobby board gaming and almost every major release these days start on Kickstarter. It's a safe way for firms to establish demand and take pre-orders for games so they cover their costs in advance. I know a lot of people are wary of Kickstarter, but by establishing your quality with early releases and by going in with CAD and virtual sprue shots ready to show, it ensures they know you are serious and reliable. Throw in for a few extra backers, like the pilot driver figures, and within a few easy releases, you can have a pretty solid fan base. So I'll send you my PayPal details for that $200,000. That's from Tim Young in West Yorkshire, UK. Tim, I think you're going to be waiting a while for the $200,000 from us. Let me tell you that right now.
Yes. Good luck with that.
Yeah. Eric Semalaya writes in, "Hello, boys. Loving the pod and loving the humour that you guys throw in. It's supposed to be a fun hobby, so humour definitely belongs. During episode 88, Dave was mentioning getting a mental sight picture by dropping matching parts on the carpet. I think I'll try that method because I'm always surprised at how small the part is when and if I actually find it on the carpet. Perhaps it's because I have been looking at it before under magnification. Another thing I have done to conquer the carpet monster is to put a towel over my lap while building and lay a large white towel under my work surface. When the parts cooperate and stay in the towel, it is much easier to find. Again, love your show and keep up the great work and inspiration. Regards, Eric. And Eric is also...
I've been doing that towel trick for the past 10 years.
Oh, yeah? Does it work for you?
Yeah. The amount of times, like you got a tiny bit in the tweezers and it goes ping, the amount of times it lands in your lap, you'd be surprised.
Mm. And I also need to mention that Eric is actually sponsoring this episode through his support of Patreon. So thank you very much, Eric. Joel Middleton writes in, hello, benchers. One of your other listeners wrote in saying it would be good to have 3D printed figures based on photos. I am not aware of anyone doing that exactly, but there is a company called Module that will do a 3D scan of you in whatever clothing you want, and then print figures between 1/150th and 1/12th scale. They've also done replicas of hand-sculpted figures in conjunction with various organisations. So if anybody wants to go and have a look, it is www.module, spelled MODELU, 3D.co.uk. And Joel signs off, stay safe and sane, and he's a Julian Jewel member, number 7162.
716. Geez, there's a lot of members.
Oh, I know. Okay. This is the one I've been waiting to get to. So this is from our good friend Will Patterson. And Will writes in, G'day, bencher mates. As you guys know, I have many thoughts, most of which are not fit for public consumption. But since Julian can only handle one at a time, I'll limit myself to just this. His protestations about not making vroom vroom and pew 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 noises with his models seems a bit strident. I suspect a real investigation would reveal that he and Chris Becker have wheels up sleepovers complete with costumes. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
I would argue that there is.
Oh, gee. Oh, gee, that is so funny. So, John, have you been having sleepovers?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
All right. I'm sure that Julian will find a way to get back at Will for that. I'm sure of it.
Not this early in the morning.
Jamie Stokes writes in. Jamie's from the South Australian Plastic Models Association, and he writes, "Hello, benchers. Thanks for the discussion. I like the idea of a third light. That's the one where I spoke about having a third light coming across from behind you over your shoulder." And he also mentions that Ray French, back in episode 1, spoke about having a bench at least 1.2 metres high, which is about 47 inches high, which is a really good idea. Julian's idea of using a tile instead of a glass sheet is good. I got a rectangular cut out of a stone kitchen bench top, a bit like what the builders usually throw away from where the sink goes. It is flat, polished and easy to clean and pretty much immune to most chemicals, paints and glues, and it gives a very stable surface as well. And he's asking what we're going to do for our 100th episode. That's a good question, Jamie. I don't know. We've got to really start thinking about that because that's coming up pretty quick, isn't it?
Well, we could just be really slack and just do a clip show.
No, I can't do that.
A montage of
Julianisms.
No. Stop that.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Next up, we have Jaden Learman writes in. I'm a fairly new follower to your show from Wisconsin, and yes, it is the place that the cheese comes from in the US. I knew I was right. Wisconsin's a cheese state. And I have to say, I really enjoy the show. It is a really interesting podcast, and I've learned quite a bit listening to it. And it has helped me with my work on my Revell 1 to 225 scale HMS Victory. What a stupid scale, 1 to 225.
What a challenging kit.
Oh, yes, I'm going to say that as well. And Jaden actually goes on to say it's been quite the build so far. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Now, also, Jaden is an avid player of World of Warships, which is something I'm into as well. And he started up a podcast, which is only a month old. And he's asking if we can just do a call out on the show, which I'm quite happy to do. And I've actually had a listen to some of Jaden's podcasts. And even though it has got a focus on World of Warships, Jaden actually goes into the history of the ships. So if you're a builder of warships, certainly have a listen to it. And the address is https with your ... and your / anchor.fm/rank-amateur. So go ahead and have a listen to that. And I've got to say, he does a really good job of talking about the history of the ships. So if nothing else, certainly go and just have a listen for that. So thanks very much, Jaden. Now, I think we got one more left, and this one's from Warren Starrett. Starrett? I hope I pronounced that right, Warren. Hi, David. So, had some ideas on how you guys might handle this, so let me know if this is what you had in mind. I'll leave that aside, actually, because I'm going to get Warren on the show next episode to actually talk about this idea. So I'll just put that aside and step away from it. All I can say is some really interesting stuff coming up in the next episode about something that is really exciting. So I'll just leave it there.
Cool. Even Julian and I don't know what it is.
No.
I try not to know, to be honest.
Well, that's all I've got from listener mail, guys. So,
so when there are, I tried to not talk about certain things that I want to talk about on the podcast because, if I have to sort of talk about it a second time, I don't think it comes out as well. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't.
Yes.
Really? I find that. It's like if we start talking about something, at least when we used to come over to your place for breakfast.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So we start, talking about something. I'm like, oh, hang on, let's talk about this when we start recording. But if I don't like the forced feeling of having to talk about it a second time.
Yeah. No, gotcha.
Just come out naturally.
Yeah.
So what we're going to have a chat about today is what you wouldn't build. And this was actually inspired because I was sitting on the couch the other night with the wife, and she said, what are you guys going to talk about this weekend? And I said, nothing really. She goes, why don't you talk about what you wouldn't build? And I was astounded that she was so interested in what I do that she actually came up with a half-decent subject we could talk about. And B, it's a really good subject to talk about, what we wouldn't build.
Hey.
I'll kick the ball off rolling. First of all, what I wouldn't build is a crappy kit.
Nah, you need them. They're a challenge. You need to build at least one crappy kit in your lifetime, though.
I disagree. Why should I put myself through all the pain, heartache of building something that I'm not enjoying?
Because then you can, when you finish, you can sit back, look at it, point at it, and go, "You beat, I beat you."
No, not interested. Why would I do that?
You're stubborn.
Not stubborn. I'm just being realistic.
I'm stubborn. That's why I do it.
Well, you're Dutch. That's why you're stubborn.
See, if this was like if my life was like an 80s action movie, right, and the bad guy comes out with his tongs and he's going to torture me, I wouldn't come out the other side of that going, it's a good thing I lived through that experience. I would look on that and go, wouldn't it have been better if I'd spent that time at home in comfort?
I don't mind the challenge kits.
Well, it's interesting because Jamie E. Adamson actually posted on our Facebook page, and he posted a picture of a F106.
Yes.
Which,
kit.
yeah, and he said it was an actual awful kit. But the build that he's most proud of, because even after all the fit issues, it came out looking really, really good.
Yeah.
But I just don't have the time or the inclination, and power to everybody that does, to you, Jamie, and you, Ian. No. If it's not working, and I'm more than happy to bin something, I really am. The only time I probably wouldn't bin something is if I spent a humongous amount of money on it. But I'm thinking that most of my kits that are horrendous builds are generally pretty cheap kits, cheap and nasty.
Yep. Pay for what you get.
Well, that's very true. The other thing that I'd probably never build is, and I don't mean this to offend these guys who do build this, is a car or a truck. Modern truck or a modern car.
Just not your thing.
Well, I drive cars every day, so why would I want to build one?
Do you drive race cars?
No, but race car, I don't find race cars that interesting.
We're at racing cars.
Well,
you already said that.
You put your racing cars are boring. I just don't see what the attraction is. It just doesn't appeal to me as something to sit on the shelf or something to build. It just, I just find them really boring.
Yep. Well, that's right. With me, I wouldn't build European sports cars. Don't like them. Not my thing.
What about you, Julian?
I'd build that. I'd build all of those, to be honest. I'm actually thinking about what kind of things I wouldn't build, and the closest I've come to is the one that Dave already said, like building a crappy kit. I mean, it depends on how crappy. I mean, like there are average sort of kits out there that I would build, but when you say crappy, I mean really crappy. There are really crappy kits out there that I would not build.
Yeah, like a frog kit.
Oh yeah, like all that really old, like pre 80s, 70-second scale stuff is probably straight out. I would absolutely not touch that stuff because I've got no reason to jump over to a scale that I wouldn't prefer. If it's also a crappy kit, I mean, it'd be the same for 32nd as well. Like if you give me a nice brand new Tamiya 32nd scale kit, I'm like, oh yeah, I could probably be tempted to build that if I had a place to put it. But I wouldn't touch it if it was like some old Revel or Hasegawa kit with raised panel lines and rivets and stuff. There's no chance I would bother. None.
The other thing I probably never touch, and I know this is going to horrify Ian, is I'd never touch a dinosaur kit or a horror sort of scene type kit.
Yeah, I agree with that one. I don't have any interest in those.
Dinosaur kits. There's some nice dinosaur kits out there.
Yeah, but
the garage companies, they do some nice work.
Yeah, and some of the kits that you've built come across really well, and they look cool, but from my perspective, I go, nah.
No, not for you.
This is not.
Me and modern vehicles. I'm not a fan of the modern warships, modern aircraft, modern cars. I like the older stuff.
Yeah.
Makes a noise. Something that makes a good noise.
Well, you're not saying modern jets don't make a good noise? Or the lovely whine from an Abrams tank? Come on, that gets your blood pumping.
Nah, they go clunking. The old clunk and clank of an old tank.
I'd build both of those, to be honest. The era and stuff. I mean, like if you said, okay, here's this old Revel Leopard 2. I would go, no, I'm not touching that kit. But if you gave me a nice Meng one, then that's, it wasn't, I mean, it's one of their older kits, but it's still like really nice by comparison. I'd build that.
Oh, there's light years difference between the Ming and the Revell kits.
Yeah.
It's like chalk and cheese.
Yeah. So I mean, like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I probably wouldn't build a ship kit that was too small.
Hang on, you built a 1/700 scale USS Lexington.
No, not necessarily scale. I mean, I'm talking about like the actual size of the ship.
Right, yep.
You know, like for example, if we're talking about 350 scale, if it's not, I don't know, 10 centimeters long or something, it's just too small. It's like I feel like I'm building like a tugboat or some other civilian little thing.
Oh, I've got a Schnell boat in 1/350 scale.
I built a little Beaver one-man submarine in 1/350 scale.
Yeah, and I've built a Japanese mini sub, 2-man mini sub in 1/350 scale.
They're small.
They're very small.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't build things like that. It doesn't like. I remember like Ian showed us his What was it, you, Ian? I think it was. It was like a Japanese landing submarine or something like that.
Oh, the Japanese Army supply submarine.
Yeah, something like that. And it was a really small thing. I was just like, okay, it's interesting as a subject, like the history and the way it was such a failure and all that sort of thing. But the actual model itself is just like this little tiny thing that doesn't resemble much.
No.
You know?
No, they were very basic looking.
I've actually built tanks in 1/350 scale. I've got couple of Abrams and what's that US Marine Corps troop carrier, the amphibious one, the LAV-7 or something.
All right, the one on wheels.
No, on tracks.
Well, Bradley?
No, that's the US Army. No, the Marine Corps has got this amphibious troop carrier thing. I can't think of the name of it.
It looks like
like the Amtrak.
Yeah, kind of like the Amtrak, yeah, but a modern one. So I've built them in 1/350 scale, and Abrams to go with another model that I've got. The size doesn't bother me. It's the subject matter that bothers me.
Yeah.
Mm.
And whereas you, Julian, it's interesting, you're saying it's the size as well as the subject matter that bothers you.
Yeah, too small, and like the details start getting clunky, and the finesse sort of disappears, and you know, I mean, like I've seen some really nice modern kits of 72nd scale armor because it's starting to get up there in the quality. But even so, you look, I'll sort of like my eye will be suspiciously drawn to the like say the poles that hold on the wing mirrors, and I'll look at them and they'll look super thick, and I can't help but imagine that as a full size version if you blew it up, and suddenly like the poles that hold on the wing mirrors are the size of my wrist, you know?
Yeah, you're right about the outer scale side of things.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't mind like models being small as long as they retain all of their sort of scale thicknesses and things like that, and they just look super fragile, and they look like someone's got the shrinking ray and hit it, you know. I can really appreciate that level of sort of craftsmanship and all that, but when they start getting small and they start losing the detail and the crispness, it just sort of like it just looks like, I don't know, it looks like someone made it out of Play-Doh or something.
A bit harsh.
Just a tad.
All things start getting too clunky, and like if you can't replicate the thicknesses and all that sort of stuff in that scale, then you should just make it in a bigger scale.
Yeah, I guess. But then again, that's the whole reason why some people only build in 1/72nd scale, which is apparently God's true scale, according to some. Is because they don't have the room, or they're constant scale builders and they want to keep everything, looking the same.
Yep.
Yeah, but so like there are people who are constant scale builders and people who aren't. If you're a constant scale builder, at some point you have to sort of realize that there are downsides to that. I'm a constant scale builder, and the downside to that is that I can't build anything that's too big, right? I'm never going to build a 4-engine bomber. It's not going to happen in 48 scale. I just don't have room for that kind of thing.
But you could build it and then just donate the kit somewhere else to live somewhere else rather than staying at your place.
Yeah, maybe if I had the luxury of that, sure. But I can't just keep pushing like all these big models onto people.
I don't know. I've got plenty of room at my joint.
Yeah, well, I will be taking you up on your offer to like house something of mine.
No, more than happy to do that. More than happy to do that.
Yeah, especially if it's a ship. I know you'll happily take a ship on board.
I'll happily take an air. You know what? I'd happily take on board anything that I don't normally build, to tell you the truth.
Okay.
As well as a ship, if you're inferring perhaps once you've finished that Italian cruiser.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, I probably won't have any place for that. I'll tell you what, Dave. I'll tell you what.
Yeah.
If and when my F4 sees daylight at Model Expo, you can have it after that.
Your F4 what?
Phantom.
Seriously?
Yeah, you can have
Ooh.
that. It's taking up way too much space. You know, there's no room for pretty much anything else on the shelf next to that thing. I've got like one. I've got the Vietnam landing armored landing craft thing.
Yep.
What's it called? I can't even remember what it's called.
Oh,
now.
your block of cheese.
As soon as I built it, I forgot everything about it. I've got that sitting next to it crammed into the corner, but there's nothing else on that shelf.
Yeah.
You know, you can take that thing too.
Oh, done. I'll happily take it. Now, the other thing that I would have perhaps said in the past I would never build, but I'm perhaps reconsidering this, is doing an actual figure. And
All right.
it's interesting. I was listening to Plastic Model Mojo, and Dave on that show was saying that his club invited a guy over to do a masterclass on painting figures, which I think is a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I really want to learn how to do skin tones and how to do a figure. So while in the past I probably would have said nah, I think I'm leaning towards the possibility that one day you'll actually see a figure come out of off my bench.
Oh, cool.
Well, if you ever build a singular, reasonably detailed and multicolored, like say Warhammer figure, I think you'll pick up a lot. Your brush painting will improve a lot.
Oh, they do. Yeah, it does.
Like you don't realize like how much you can learn if you just sit there and just do that for one figure.
Yeah, but see, most of my paints now are all lacquers, so brush painting lacquers is a bit of a challenge. No?
No, don't even try it.
Yeah.
Just buy a handful of basic colours from
Vallejo,
and then you can mix your own colours out of them.
Yeah, but hang on, wasn't now I'm just trying to think. I did see somewhere where somebody actually had hand-painted lacquers and it had worked reasonably well.
Yeah, that was the episode where we had Lincoln Wright.
Lincoln Wright was doing it. Yes, that's right.
Yeah. But that was a bit different. I think that was sort of like a technique that sort of lent itself to like sort of weathering effects and things like that. Not that it was used specifically for that, but I think he was using it as sort of like a method that lent itself to a weathered finish or some such, if I recall.
And it came out looking really, really good, and it surprised the heck out of me that you can actually get away and do brush painting with lacquers.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a big difference between that and figure painting, because a lot of figure painting, when you first get into it, involves sort of learning to paint inside the lines.
Yeah.
You know?
See, well, that's interesting, because I thought it was all about building up your layers to get the right skin tones and everything.
Like anything, it's like an onion of skills, you know, and like you start on the outside and you work your way in.
Yes.
And so at the start, you realize, oh, I'm struggling to paint within the lines. Like this trim that runs along his shoulder doesn't look straight, and so you quickly start to focus on getting that right. And then once you've got that right, you're like, okay, well now I can paint within the lines, but it now looks pretty plain, even though I've got everything looking crisp. So now I have to learn how to do shading effects and things like that.
Exactly.
I've just realised that Julian and I should have just been on this podcast because there's nothing that I can think of that Ian wouldn't build or hasn't attempted to build in the past.
Yeah, well, we've already found one. There's like an Italian or European like sports cars.
Yeah, that's
and things.
true. Yeah, he'd never build one of them.
Yeah. Unless I can do it all crashed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but you wouldn't even have the motivation to finish a build like that, would you?
I don't know. I really don't know. I can't answer that. Look, I have built them in the past, but now, no.
Yeah. I guess it's an interesting subject because it comes down to, sometimes building something you would never build really pushes you out of your sort of comfort zone and encourages you to gain skills that you perhaps wouldn't even attempt.
Well, here's something. I mean, like, I think that the three of us are probably above average when it comes to openness to build things that you would otherwise don't have an interest in. Because of the fact that in our model club, we have a theme every year, and it forces you to look into things you wouldn't otherwise have bothered with.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true. Yep.
So we're, just by nature of being in this model club, it's a case, you're already in that sort of, because we're already well acquainted with going, well, I might try building one of those. I'll probably get into it if I bother to look up something about it.
Mm-hmm.
We've all been down that road.
Well, you're 100% right there because since I've joined the model club, prior to that, I was exclusively submarines and warships. And although I'd built, 1/72 scale tanks back in the day when sort of Airfix sort of ruled the scale, and I used to sit in the garage floor with all my mates and throw firecrackers at them. I've now sort of not been forced, but certainly been encouraged. No, encouraged not perhaps the right word, but because we have those specific themes each year at our club builds, I've gone and built tanks now, and I'm finding the process extremely enjoyable to do, to the point where I've got I've got about 4 tanks built and about 20 kits in my stash now.
Yep.
You know what else? I think also being in a model club, any model club, will sort of at least have planted the interest in you for things outside of your own niche. Because if you see, like for example, if you're an aircraft guy and there's armor model kits out there that exist, you'll look at them, you'll go, that's to armor, I won't bother with it, because you don't know what you're missing out on until you open the box, at the very least.
Yep.
Right? But if you go to a model club and then someone shows up with, check this thing out, and you're like, okay, I may as well have a look because he bought it, at least I didn't have to buy it. And so you have a look through and you're like, you know what, I could probably start gluing this thing together and have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And there's the other added bonus too, is that a model club gives you a bit of a safety net, so that if you're struggling or having issues, you've got some people within the club who have built that before or build that genre, and they can sort of point you in the right direction and help you out.
Yeah. Also, because there's this point no genre, like be it aircraft, ships, tanks, that I would rule out. I can go to a model show and see someone else's model of a ship, tank, whatever, and go, you know what, I could probably do a better job of that. And then I can go and buy one,
Especially when it wins first, second, or third, and you think, well, I could do better than that. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you're wrong. You get to build a better version of it, and it doesn't turn out anywhere near as good. And you're like, well, I was wrong.
Oh, but that's where the whole inspiration of model shows and that are, and where they come from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh God, I miss model shows. I miss them so much. I want this horrid year to end so we can start going back to model shows again.
I don't. But see, the last Model Expo that we went to had a lot of really good builds, and I think that there's inevitably highs and lows, right?
Mm.
Yes.
So there's going to be particularly good years and slump years. So maybe because there'll be so many models at the next one, it'll have to be a high.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah. It's just going to be a plethora of builds.
All
these people in lockdown, they've got nothing else to do.
I see the IPMS Nationals are pushing forward. They're they're in Las Vegas next year.
Ah.
Geez, that'd be cool to go to that one. I think our friends over at Plastic Model Mojo are sort of doing some lead up shows to that the IPMS Nationals next year, and I think they're planning actually to go across to it and do what we do a broadcast from the actual show, which would be awesome.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah,
it would
definitely be. On that one.
Yeah. When are we ever going to travel again? Oh, I miss traveling as well. All right, guys. I think that's about it. You guys got anything else you want us to add or have a quick chat about before we head over and do our sign off?
Yeah. No, I'm pretty good. I'm planning on spending the rest of the afternoon modelling.
Yeah, I've got to take the dog for a walk, so I'll go and do that, which is about an hour walk, and then I think I might get back in and finish off this destroyer today. I think that'd be really cool.
Yes. Yeah, I'll do some more work to the little girl figure, the girly figure I got from the aeroplane.
Oh, that's where you got her sort of posing provocatively wearing a... Now, you had to do a bit of model bashing for this, didn't you?
Yeah,
Kit bashing.
She comes with a Santa Claus hat.
A Santa Claus hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I got rid of the Santa Claus hat and replaced it with an Air Force captain's hat.
And she's
so I got one of the old monogram 48 scale figures, lopped the top of his head off, ground it out with a Dremel tool, did a bit of surgery on her with a file because she's like either 3D resin printed or 3D or just resin. I'm not too sure which one she is. And gave it a file and popped the hat on. Fit perfect.
So she's going to be reclining on your P51 Mustang when you finish it?
She's not going to be glued to it.
Oh, okay.
She might become like a little model for my aircraft builds when they're finished.
Like a photography prop.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the old saying? Girls sell cars.
That's it.
Yeah.
I'll sell planes.
I think you're trying to cast the judge's eyes away from any flaws in your kit, so they're just focusing on the actual work.
That's it.
Oh, jeez. Julian, how about you?
No, I don't have anything to say. I had a good time to think about it. Got nothing.
Mine's a blank again.
All right, guys. I think we'll call that quits. Thanks very much. And sign off from you, Ian.
Photo which is your friend.
Julian.
I still got nothing.
Bye, Julian.
Didn't you have?
You can be disappointed.
What about your
I'm a disappointment.
What about your buy more tools sort of byline?
I've worn that out. I can't keep flogging that same old horse.
All right, guys. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back in a fortnight. Thanks for listening.
Bye-bye.
Well, thanks very much for listening and hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you to everybody for your ongoing support of the show. It's really great. Our numbers are fantastic and continue to rise. So don't forget to mention us to other members in your club or other members in your circle of friends who build models. It just helps get our name out there and get more people listening as well. Also, if you want to get in contact with us or drop us a line, you can do so by sending us an email to onthebench64@gmail.com, or of course you can go to our Facebook page, just type in On The Bench and that'll take you directly to our Facebook page. More than happy to see pictures of your kits, of your bench even, and just any other general information you've got that you want to drop and share with the rest of the modelling community. So we'll be back in a fortnight. We'll see you then. Bye.